everyone, welcome back to Piano.
Hello everyone. This is a video on video games and how much I used to play, why I stopped playing, and why you should stop playing. I'll start with how much I used to play, because that really puts this into perspective of how big of a part video games were in my life when I stopped. I've been playing video games since I was able to play on a computer and pick up a controller and play. So until I was 5, 4 maybe even. I mean, I was young when I started playing video games. And when I was that young, I didn't play a lot, but I still had systems. I had a Sega Genesis, I had an SNES, which those were the systems at the time, the consoles, which that word I just thought of as a console. It's a con to your soul. It's tricking your soul. And when I got to probably around 9 or 10 is when I really started to play. I would always go over to my next door neighbor's house. I was actually probably younger than that. I was probably like 8 when I really started to play a lot. My next door neighbor's house, he was the same age as me, and we would sit there playing video games all day long, all night long. I'd spend the night over there. We'd sit there playing all the time. We would spend at least 5 to 6 hours a day playing video games if we didn't have something else that we had to go do. That was what we chose to do. We chose to sit there and play video games all the time. And this carried on until I was 18 and he went off to college. And I didn't stop playing then, though, but me and him just played that constantly, which it even got even more frequently. I was probably spending 8 hours a day playing video games, depending on what else I had to do in the day, but on average, at least 8 hours a day, because I would spend the whole weekend playing for the most part, unless I went and did something else, but I would mostly rather sit there playing video games at the time. And once I got a job, though, which I got when I was 17, that's when I was able to then buy my own stuff, which I told myself when I got a job that I will always be able to buy all the game stuff that I ever want, which is exactly what I did. I got that job and the PlayStation 3 came out right around that time. That console cost $600 to buy, which I saved my money to be able to get it, and it was a big chunk of money to me, especially for a console, because no game console ever costs nearly that much. And I sat there playing it all the time. I bought all the games that I wanted for it. I never let any game go by that I did not want, which those were $60 a pop. That's a lot of money. I got all the accessories that I wanted for it, the PlayStation Move, and extra controllers. And when the 3D came out for it, I got the PlayStation 3D monitor with it. I had 3D glasses for it. I got everything that I wanted for it because that's what I spent all of my energy on, was playing video games. That's how big of a gamer I was. Then I had the Xbox 360 as well. I would get the games I wanted for that. Throughout 3.5 years ago, I moved here to Phoenix, and I was still completely into video games at that point. When we moved here is really when we started to notice how the world was, but it wasn't an instant thing. And about a year into being here, or probably about 6 months into being here first, is when the PS4 came out, which I made sure I had the money set aside to get the PlayStation 4. I pre-ordered it, and I got all the games that I wanted for it as well. I made sure that I always got everything I wanted for the video games, just because I always told myself I would, basically. Because that's what I wanted to put my energy towards. That was my way to entertain myself. That's what I liked to do at the time. And probably about a year after I had the PlayStation 4, probably just over a year after I had it, is when I really started to see how the world is actually set up, how controlled it is, how all of this entertainment is not really for us, how it's put there to control us and to waste our energy and to steal our energy. And once I started to realize that, it didn't stop me from playing at first, but it put a thought in my head. It planted a seed in my head that I shouldn't really be doing this as much as I am, but I still was at the time. And I would still continue to get some. I wouldn't get as many games then, though. I cut back on the amount I was playing a little bit. I was probably, when I moved here, I wasn't playing 8 hours a day because I had a full-time job and a family at that point. But I was still playing 3 to 4 hours a day, and on the weekends I was playing 6, 7, 8 hours, sometimes more, depending on if we were doing anything else. If we weren't doing anything and we were at home, I was sitting or standing in front of the TV playing a video game, most likely, some type of game. And it made it very convenient with the PlayStation 4 because you can actually pause the games that you're playing and suspend them exactly where you are at. And towards the end, which I said about a year and a couple months after the PlayStation 4 came out, after I got it, is when I really started to stop playing video games. And at the time, I was only playing 2 games. I had cut myself back to focusing on just a couple games because I still enjoyed doing it. I still wanted that to be my form of entertainment, but I didn't want to put all of that money towards it anymore. I didn't want to put that energy towards it. So I was playing my dog's asking to go to the bathroom. I was playing The Witcher 3, which is a very, very time-consuming game, if anyone knows what that is. Which is why, one of the reasons why I stopped playing other games, because it is so elaborate, there's so much to do in it. So that was really the main game I was playing. And then I was also playing Rocket League, which is a simple arcade-type game where you played a car, and it was a soccer match. It was either 1-on-1, 2 versus 2, or 3 versus 3. And you just drove your car around and hit it into a soccer ball and tried to score a goal. I got very good at that game because I played it so much. And the reason I played it so much, though, is because it was so simple. And I seen as, if I was playing a simple game, it's not as much of a drain of my energy as playing such a complex game. Those were the 2 games that I was playing back and forth. And eventually, I mean, even with The Witcher when I was playing, I noticed these things in it that lined up with other things in my life. Because at that point, we were eating very naturally. We were not partaking in a lot of other entertainment stuff. We weren't going to movies anymore. We weren't watching sports really, or I wasn't, I should say, watching sports much anymore at that time. And I was looking into ancient Egypt at that time. I was looking into historic mythologies. I was looking into a lot of the mythologies and trying to find where the earth began through history, through mythologies, which is the wrong way to go about it. But that's how I thought. That's the only way I knew at that point, was to look at what people already had out there. And I started to see how things in The Witcher lined up with things I was learning from watching videos and reading stuff. Like the herbs that are in The Witcher. You mix herbs together and create different things. that is something that we were doing at the time. Not mixing them, but we were using herbs. And I was like, this is so weird that it's in the game. And there was alchemy in the game, which that's from Egypt. That also made me made a connection in my mind. And there's magic in the game, which alchemy is a type of magic. The game really linked up, but I didn't see the connections how I see it now. Which I'll get to towards the end, because it's no mistake that it has all of these elements in it. They're all there on purpose because that's what sucks you into it. And I started to gravitate away from playing that because you can't just sit down and play it for 10 minutes. You would sit down and play it for hours because of how elaborate it is, how big the map was. Just to really go and do something in the game, it would take you at least half hour to go do it. You had to go gather things and make something and then go to this place at a certain time to slay and kill the beast. And it was very time consuming. And just at a point I decided I'm not going to play this game anymore because I know how much energy it's taking from me. And I started playing Rocket League for most of the time, which I still probably played just about as much, but it wasn't as consuming. In between matches, I would go and do other things because there was a few minutes, 5 minutes in between matches. So I would go and do other things. I would stop for a little bit and go and do other things as well while I was playing that game because it wasn't as it doesn't draw you in as much because it's an arcade type game. And I had a lot of fun with it, but just basically one day I decided I'm not going to play it anymore. And I never picked it up again. And probably a couple weeks after me not playing my PlayStation at all, probably 2 to 3 weeks, my wife asked me if I wanted to sell it. I said, yeah, I think I should. And I sold everything I had. I had probably 30 games for the PlayStation 4. I sold my Xbox One that I had. I had 2 PlayStation 3s that I sold. I sold all the games that I had for that. Sold all the Xbox One or Xbox 360 games I had. I sold all the accessories for all of it. I put all of it on eBay and I got rid of it all. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life because one, it brought a lot of money to me, which I was not expecting. It brought a lot of energy directly to me just from getting rid of this stuff that I wasn't using that much anymore, and it was actually stealing my energy. But I was able to salvage some stuff out of it by getting some money that I put towards things that actually help me and not help someone else. And after I got rid of it, I never even missed it. I never missed my consoles. I never had the urge to go back and play any of it at all. From time to time, I would play like a game on my phone, but shortly after I even stopped doing that because I knew at that point that none of this was there to help me. None of these games on my phone were there to actually help me. And I was doing it in a way where it was when I was literally not doing anything that I was playing it, but I realized that during that time I'm not doing something, I could be doing something that's actually helping me, even if it's relaxing myself, meditating. I could be doing something that's helping me instead of playing this game that's just, I'm staring at this screen, playing this game, and once I stop, that's it. It's not doing anything for me at all. And that's really how I stopped playing. At first I gradually stopped a little bit and just kept it to just a couple games, which I think really helped me because then I wasn't doing all these different things with it that I was trying to keep up with, which is what a lot of video gamers do. You have this huge game catalog because they're constantly releasing games and you're trying to play all these either different ones, or some people will play one at a time, But then they have this huge backlog of games that they're never going to get through. And just cutting it down to just a couple definitely helps a lot. But for the most part, I just got rid of, stopped playing it once and got rid of it all. Because the time that I was playing didn't really diminish. It was mostly just the complexity and how many different games I was playing. But when I did stop playing, I was still playing 2 to 3 hours a day, and I just stopped all at once. And for a lot of people, it's probably not the way to go, because you're going to get feelings that you want to go back and do it because it's so programmed into you. That's really what it is. The games program you. They program the games to program us. And it's very hard to get out of a program once you are already programmed, especially when you are used to it. It goes the same with TV, which I will make a separate video on that as well. And it's easier to do it one step at a time, one layer at a time, and not to stop and do it all at once. If you can do it all at once, though, it is so much more relieving and self-gratifying when you do it, though, and when you can keep your mind under your control and know that you don't need to play this game for you to entertain yourself, for you to be able to be who you are. You can do something else. Which, the only reason I was able to do that, though, is because I'd already came to the understanding that I am a spiritual being and that I am not the person that's sitting here playing the game and wasting my energy playing this game. Once you have that understanding, you're able to stop doing things at once because you have something else to fall back on. You have yourself to fall back on. Once you have yourself to go back to, there's nothing that you can't stop or that you can't do because we are infinite beings. We can do anything, including breaking a program that we've been programmed with since a very young age. It all is in our mind when it comes down to it, and as long as we take control of our mind, we can stop it just as easily as we can start ourselves doing something else, which that's also the key. You just don't want to stop doing something, because if you stop doing something, you're going to have thoughts that you want to go back to it. You want to make sure that you fill what you're doing with something else, which I feel most of the time that I was wasting on video games. I started learning stuff. I started learning about the world. I started learning how things really operate. I started learning about money and how it really works, which is a huge eye-opener. Just one huge reason why I didn't want to spend any of my money on this garbage, because I seen the commerce and what commerce actually was. It's nothing that's there to help us. It literally is there to steal our money, steal our energy. And once you see what that is, it definitely gives you a feeling like, I don't want to partake in any of this stuff. But you want to make sure that you partake in yourself. Keep learning. Don't stop learning. When I say learning, though, I don't mean look at something and believe it's true. It's just information, and you have to take that information and internalize it. Put it inside of you and let yourself come up with thoughts about it, because all the information that we've ever gathered in our life, it's not how we were taught that it is. It's how we want to use it. If we are using it how we are taught it is, we're believing that it is how we are taught it is. And if you're believing something, you're putting your faith into someone else, and you're putting your perspective into someone else. You're not using your own perspective. When you're using your own perspective with the information, you are looking at what you want to in it and using what you want to in it, which is how all of us should be doing with everything that we're consuming. Through our eyes, through our ears, through our taste and of our mouth, through our feeling of our hands, and through our nose. But a lot of us don't use our senses in that way. We use our senses as beliefs. We latch onto beliefs that people tell us about them, and we use their perspective then for our senses. When it's really, we need to use it for ourselves and then use all this stuff as information to understand how we need to, which is always going to be true for you. As long as you are being yourself, it's always true for you. It might not be true for someone else. It might not be true for your family or your friends, but it's definitely can still be, it still is true for you, because you're the one that's coming up with it like that. And as long as you're coming up with it like that, it's true for you. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. And with the video games, when it comes to information and information that you can use, they are littered with information. They have so much information in it that is so relevant to the world right now. It's insane. I think it's probably the industry that has the most relevant information in it, because of how elaborate the games are and because of how they take place. A lot of them, they are in a big environment and you're taking place of one character. That would be an open world game, and it's very relevant to the world right now. You're trying to figure out what you need to do in the world, how you beat the game, how you get to the end of the game. And instead of doing that for yourself, you're doing it in the game. And I've always taken a strategy in a game where before I even try to beat the game, I always get an abundance of everything. I always make sure that I have everything I need, that I will never run out of the money, the coin, the material that I need in the game, so that I can beat it with no problem then. Because once you have abundance of everything, basically an unlimited supply of everything, the game's no problem, because that's the hard part, is keeping everything while you're trying to go through the game. But if you spend your energy to get the stuff, then the rest of it's no problem. That's exactly how it works, like in this world. Because I really see this world as a game that we're in for the most part. And we're playing someone else's game right now, though. Instead of playing the game how we want to, we're playing by their rules. They've set the board around us. They've set the chessboard. And we're going by how they set the chessboard instead of knocking down the pieces and doing it how we want to, which we can because we have the choice to do that in this world. In a game, you can't necessarily do that because it's programmed in a specific way. And unless you actually go through the code and break the coding, which they do make programs for games called Game Shark and Game GD and things like that, which for a while they went away. They were very much relevant in the early days, not the early days, but the early digital age of gaming with PlayStation and Xbox. But after that, they totally disappeared. And even later in those generations, they disappeared. The developers broke the code so that they couldn't use these outside systems to change the actual code of the game to put things in the game that the developers did not design in there. They brought them back now. There's ways that I don't know if they're still using it because I don't look into anything with games really now. But when I was playing, they brought them back, which you could do the same thing. You use, I don't know if it was an external device at this point, but it used to be an external device that you would connect, and you would be able to change the actual code of the game to put things in it that the developers did not want in it or that they never had the intention of putting in it. So you can give yourself if it's a game where your weapon's like a sword or something, you can make a sword that has maxed out stats that will kill everything in one hit. And it makes the game completely not like the developers intended it to be then, because you're breaking the code, you're breaking the source code to make it easier for yourself. And that's exactly what we do once we stop playing the game, how the Matrix, the program set in front of us, have set it up to be played. Once we play it how we want to, we can create whatever we want into this world to make this game as easy as we want. It just takes our singularity thought of putting it into existence here and putting our energy to it to be able to do that. it works just like a game. That's how this world really is. We're spirits, we're souls, we are consciousness, we are energy, we are not our human body. We are embodying the human body with our energy, but we're also present on a higher level. And because of that, we can actually connect with our higher self, which is actually what is controlling everything down here. Our body is the role player. Our higher self is what's really controlling all of the movements and everything that we're doing here while we're in our body down here. And it's just like a role-playing game. Our energy, our consciousness is us if we're playing the game, and our body is the character in the game that we're controlling with a controller, or however we're controlling it. We're using some means to control that character in the game. Our spirit, our consciousness, does the same thing with our body. It's controlling our body to do what it needs to do. While you are unconscious and you are allowing your subconscious to be programmed, though, by the Matrix, you're not controlling your body. You're allowing someone else to control your role player. And it really makes complete sense when you think of it like that, because we're just role players down here. We're not actually the ones that is doing what we are doing with ourselves. We need to use our conscious. That's why we need to become conscious. Once we become conscious, we don't have a subconscious. Once we become whole, our subconscious turns into our conscious, and then our conscious controls our body. And when we are consciously controlling our body, we can do anything in this world, because we can consciously put our energy where we need it to be able to do what we need to be able to do with it. We can live in abundance in this world, just like I used to do in video games. And I thought about this in the past. Why can't I play real life like I play video games? Why can't I just get an abundance of money like I do in video games that are even supposed to be designed like real life? I would do the same thing. Why can't I do that in this world? And it was because I was playing the wrong way. I was playing by someone else's rules. Once I started playing by my rules and putting your energy into what you need to put it into to get what you desire and what you need in this world, it happens. You get the abundance that you want because of it. And it relates just like the games. And I've seen so many similarities like that just by taking in new information. I'll relate it to something a video game that I used to play, like Halo, very popular video game. It is so relevant with what is going on in the world right now. Destiny, which is made by the same creators as Halo, a extremely relevant video game, which I played a lot. Way too much did I play that game. I did everything possible in that game up until the third expansion, when I stopped playing it, because they changed the game completely, which is the only reason I stopped playing it, really. It wasn't because I was stopping playing at the time. It was just because they totally effed it all up with how they had set it up. But in the game, first of all, it's called Destiny. And you're playing your character and living out your destiny because you're choosing what you're doing. That's what we have to do in this world. We have to live out our own destiny. But also in the game, you had the Vex, which the Vex were enemies in the game that had a central mind, and they could actually teleport throughout the world, and they would show up out of nowhere. They teleport because they all use one mind, and because of that, time didn't stop them because they existed outside of time, which is how we exist, but that's also how the people who created the Matrix and the program exist. That's why they're the enemies in the game. It goes even deeper than that. They have what's called grimoire cards in the game, where if you read those, I haven't read them since I've opened up as much as I have, but I'm sure there's a ton of truth relating to the actual world that we are in within those cards, because it's just about the story of the game, and it really has no relevance to the game itself besides telling you the story of it more. usually when there's stuff like that in games, it's very relevant to our world. And the reason they do this in games is because they need to give us the truth. They can't just give us subliminal messages to make us give our energy to them without them telling our subconscious the truth in some way, shape, or form. They just hide it so that we don't notice it, but our subconscious does. And it satisfies our subconscious to remain our subconscious and not wake up and say, none of this makes sense. Why are we going along with this? Which a lot of us are doing anyways, but that is why I see that they have to put the truth in everything. Because the truth is literally littered all over the entertainment industry. It's in movies, TV shows, games, music, news, the media, sports. It's in all of it, and it's for that simple reason that you can't trap a being that's infinite forever, which we're trapped in infinity. That's one of the reasons why the infinity sign is everywhere. We're trapped in infinity if you listen to the people who created the Matrix, and you can't trap them for infinity if you don't tell them some truth to satisfy their higher self. If you don't satisfy the truth that their higher self really knows, they're going to wake up to what's going on in the world around us, which many of us are doing right now regardless. Myself, for one of them. That's why I'm making this video, is because I want to help people who are in the situation that I was in. I know exactly how people feel when they are just stuck in it and they don't believe anything else, because I was that person. I was as ignorant to all of this as anyone else is in this world is right now. So I feel the empathy for them. I feel the pain that they're really going through, that their conscious is going through because of it. And the only way for them to really open up is for them to decide to. You can't make someone open up to the world, because their ego protects them from that. Their ego protects their way of life to not change. And until they decide to change, you can't really tell them nothing, because their ego will have something to say back right away to protect themselves. That's the point of the ego. And it's mostly everything that I wanted to say in this video. It's video games are not here to help us. They're not here to entertain us even. They're here to steal our energy. That's all entertainment is. It's here to steal our energy, which I never thought about the word entertainment, but I'm sure if I broke it down in some way that it would make sense to why it is actually called entertainment. But regardless, it's here to steal our energy. That's the only part of it. That's the only reason for it. And until you consciously start to take yourself out of what you are doing, you're never really going to even notice what's going on around you. The only reason I can feel that I started to wake up with what's going on is because we wanted to be healthier in our life, and we started to eat healthier, a lot healthier, because we knew that we weren't eating healthy yet. We thought we were at one point, but then we knew that we weren't eating healthy, and we made a conscious effort to eat healthy. And when you do that, other things start to open up for you, which we'll make a separate video about that eventually. But on the video game topic, that's really it. It's as simple as stop wasting your time with it. Stop wasting your energy with it. Don't look at your time. Don't look at it as time. Look at it as energy. What you put your energy towards is what you are, is what you become, is how you feel actually. So don't put your energy towards video games. You're wasting it. You're letting someone else take it from you. You're even wasting your money energy on it as well. You can put that towards better food. You can put that towards a better life for you, a better quality of life for you, so that you can live however you want to live and not be stuck in a box that you are in when you're in the Matrix. It really just comes down to that. Stop playing them. If you have any questions, anything you want to add, Let me know in the comments. If you want to ask me anything specific, send me a message. I will be happy to answer. I'll be making a few more videos like this as well of different things that I worked myself out of to be able to be completely free of the matrix, to completely free of the programs that are around us, because we all have that capability. It just takes wanting to do it and knowing that you can do it. Because we're not that person that we think we are. We're the person that's inside of us, which isn't even a person. We are what is inside of us. We are the being inside of us that's naturally there. We have to become that being again if we want to be whole. As long as we're looking on the outside for our whole self, we'll never find it. That's it for this one. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good day.